Do 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 do. Hey, how's it going? It's Nancy Gamon. Thanks for visiting. Are you getting tired of looking at the same four walls? Well, let's liven them up a little bit with a pretty dyed garland. I'm starting with 10 little pieces of 100% cotton muslin. I've pre-washed the fabric in a textile detergent to remove any sizing, and then the fabric has been soaking in a soda ash solution for at least 10 minutes. So I'm going to fold each one up into a little triangle, and I'm going to do that by making the first fold along the lengthwise and then folding it in half crosswise, lifting this small fold up to the side there to make a triangle, and then doing it one more time to make a tight little triangle. Then I'm flipping it over and doing the same thing on the other side, lifting up the fold once and then twice. So it ends up with a lot of folds on one side and two thick folds on the other. I'm going to do that same thing with all 10 pieces. Once I have all 10 pieces folded, I'm going to divide them into 2 groups of 5, and having the edges that have many folds aligned or kind of going the same direction, I'm going to layer up the triangles and roll them up into kind of a cinnamon roll type shape. So I'm just setting one triangle, aligning these many edges, and I'm going to start with the tippy tip and roll up into kind of a cinnamon roll, just inserting the next triangle when I get close to the end, about an inch away from the edge of the fabric. And then I'm going to kind of coax this flat a little bit, trying to make sure that all of these edges are aligned with what's the top of this cinnamon roll. And I have just a damp rag. This actually is a used makeup remover towelette that's gone through the laundry, and I'm going to use that to wrap around the sides of this cinnamon roll so that it will hold its shape. And then I'm going to repeat that with these next 5. I tried to not roll too tightly as I went. I want the dye to be able to get into the folds of the fabric. If it's too tight, then a lot of white space will be left. So now I have my 2 little rolls. Aren't they sweet? And I'm going to put them on my dyeing platform here. I just have a plastic bin and a cooling rack, a couple pieces of paper. I'm just going to put my 2 rolls on right there. If you have regular ice cubes or crushed ice or snow, you can just put a mound. I have kind of these crazy ice cubes today that are flat on one side, so I'm just going to arrange them neatly across these 2 cinnamon roll shapes. Now I'm ready to sprinkle on the powdered dye. You do want to be wearing a dust mask for this part of the process. And I'm using Procion Fiber Reactive Dyes. They're designed to work with 100% plant fibers. If you're using a different kind of dye, it may have different dyeing instructions. So the first color that I'm using here is Bahama Blue, and I'm just sprinkling that on. And then the next one is Orange Sorbet. And then the last color is Bazooka Pink. And I'm hoping this will just make a very festive selection of fabrics for us. So now it just needs to rest for about 22 hours. Let's take a look at these little cuties. I'm curious to see how they turn out. Get rid of these protective rags here, and we'll unfold them and see what pretties we have. So the next step is to take these to the sink and rinse them out under cold running water until the water runs clear. Then wash them in a sploosh of textile detergent in hot water. Rinse out the textile detergent in cold water, and then let them sit for about 20 minutes in hot water that has a splash of retain or dye fixative in it. Then rinse that out, and they're ready to dry and press with a hot iron. It seems like that ironing is really what makes the little whispers of color come out. These are pretty dark right now, but once they're rinsed and dried, they'll be quite a bit lighter, and I think we'll be able to see the little subtleties of pretty color. You can see the fabric went through quite a transformation through the process of rinsing and drying. Now I'm going to sew them together on a length of pretty ribbon. I looked through my stash of ribbon and I liked this bold turquoise the best. So at each end I'm going to leave about a foot so that there's room to form a hanging loop. And then I'm going to use this sewing machine to sew the little pieces of fabric onto the ribbon, leaving maybe 2 inches between each one so that they're spaced out nicely. I'm just going to use a straight stitch on the sewing machine, sewing kind of closely to the edge of the fabrics. Now I'm just going to fold in maybe about a third of the loose ribbon at the end and just tie a little knot there so that it forms just a small loop, just enough to be able to hang on to a nail there. And there we are. It's like an instant party. I'll see you next time.